welcome to another episode with your chapter crush sweetheart. This is Everblue Presents When You're Enough, a chapter crush sweetheart series. Michel, chapter 29. So I love you because I know no other way than this. Pablo Neruda. Bronwyn shoves at my shoulder. Can you just move over a bit? Smirking, I reach over and hit the switch on the bedside table to turn the lights off. Turning on my side, I rest my head on my arm as my eyes adjust to the dark. Is that better? Oh, so you're awake, she grumbles. Just a lot on my mind, I respond. Thank you for today. It was a lot of fun, but also, thank you for what you did for my family. It was unexpected, but I know they love their gifts. Mama's going to wear out her tote bag within weeks, and when the summer arrives, no one will be able to remove Papa's hat from his head. There's a smile in her voice when she murmurs, My pleasure. Thank you for sharing them with me. What would I do? I frown. Hide them under the cupboard? She pauses. No, it's just, I didn't think you'd want me to spend so much time around them since we're, Taking a deep breath, I stretch my hand out until I find hers resting on the bed. Bronwyn, while we're married, we're family. Despite the circumstances of it, I could never be ashamed of you. Oh, she breathes. Okay. We lay that way a few minutes before a thought occurs to me. Do you want to see Auntie tomorrow? That would be fun. Maybe we can visit some places you like to take Dory. I nod, even though it's impossible for her to see. Saturdays are always busy at the market, but if you don't mind the crowd, there's a place that makes the best old-fashioned hot chocolate. Sounds like a date. A pause. Then, so tell me when you first knew you were in love with hot chocolate. Chuckling, I tease. I think you've gained enough intel from our late-night chats. Apparently not enough, because I still have questions. Running my thumb over her hand, I snort. Yes, Inspector, I can see that. To answer your question, I defer to Mama, since I don't know the exact age I was introduced to chocolate. Ah, so is this how it's to be, Mr. Renard? Not answering questions and deferring to Mama? You want to do things the hard way? I chuckle in response. Fine, I'm a chocolate addict. I used to sneak it into my room to eat at night and get in trouble when I didn't have the foresight to get rid of the evidence. Her warm laughter cuts through the air. Wait, where would you put the evidence? Bleh, I grumble. In my pockets, under the pillows, everywhere. That's so unlike you, Mr. Honest to a fault. She laughs. It wasn't my finest hour. I grin. After the third time being caught, Papa advised me it would be wiser to consider leaving the life of crime. I came to see his point when Mama washed my mouth with soap. How old were you then? She giggles. 6, I snort, which is greeted with more laughter. Ah, we'll have to be on the lookout to make sure your criminal ways don't show up with Dorian. I pause then, unsure how to respond when Bronwyn quickly says, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to imply that I have anything to do with correcting. I mean, Winnie, I sigh. I don't expect you to replace Yvette in her life, yet you're her gift, Mama. And I think no matter what takes place between us, you always will be. You're probably right, but I don't know how to be a parent, Mishu. I'm trying. I want to be, but I also don't want to step on anyone's toes. Ignoring the way her words warm my heart, I chuckle. You don't seem to worry about my toes when we're dancing. When she reaches over to poke me in the stomach, I catch her hand, folding it in mine as I bring it to my chest. Just be yourself, Winnie. No one knows how to be a parent at first. And maybe it changes with every child, since no two children are alike, but we figured it out. And now we can figure it out together. All right, she sighs. If you're okay with it, I am too. We'll just hope the criminality skips a generation. Hey, I quip. I became an officer of the law after that. I'm a changed man. Yeah. She sleepily yawns. That's what they all say. The weekend flies by as I took my favorite girls out to enjoy the market in Annecy. Of course, Adrien tagged along, grumbling about being a chauffeur and a fourth wheel. He eventually decided he was only there to spend the day with his niece. I could only worry about the amount of sugar he was sneaking to Rian as Bronwyn and I slipped in and out of shops. I simply couldn't get enough of Bronwyn's reaction to everything, from the river that flows through town to the architecture, and of course our beautiful lake. What's worse, I quickly found myself becoming jealous of everything that slipped past her lips as she tasted her way through the market, groaning over every bite. Honestly, it's as if the woman has never had food before, and she's clueless that she does this. She moaned so loudly over a cup of mulled wine, I had to excuse us from the wide-eyed vendor, while Bronwyn went on about the spices. Even if Adrienne could laugh it off, I certainly couldn't. So after another moment with a simple raclette, I pulled her away from the table, around the corner from the little booth, opened my mouth to speak, and boom, I pressed a hard kiss to her mouth. She gazed up at me wide-eyed when I looked down at her, shaking myself. Yet, at my wit's end, I warned her, from now on, that's what happens when you make that sound around others. Her eyes darkened as she parted her lips to say something, and I kissed her again before grumbling. That is not a sound for anyone else. Do you understand, Winnie? Um, Her hand still caught my wrist where I gently held her chin. Okay, I'm happy you enjoy food. I stroked her cheek with my thumb as I sighed. I love that you enjoy your food, but some sounds should remain private, my dove. Okay? She nodded in a daze as I pushed her curls over the shoulder of her beige puffy coat. Finally, I exhaled in relief. Now, let's get back before Adrien finishes your raclette. When we were sound, she quietly nibbled on her bread as Adrien's eyes bounced back and forth between us. That's when I started silently kicking myself. I could have, should have handled that differently. What possessed me to kiss her? Glancing at her, the answer is obvious as she takes another bite of cheese and bread and crosses her eyes as she presses her lips together in pleasure. I look away with a gulp, the answer plain to me. After seeing her do that all over town, I kissed her because it's what I wanted to do, what I've always wanted to do. Zut. Eventually, the awkward moment faded as Dorian bounced between us, talking about the cute stuffed penguin that Adrien bought for her. Bronwyn began laughing, and after shoving the last bit of glass slathered in cheese into her mouth, she started to groan, but suddenly her wide eyes snapped to mine. I could only chuckle as she swallowed the sound with her bread. When she kicked me under the table, I couldn't stop laughing, even as Adrien shook his head and Dorian asked what was so funny. I count that as a win. Over the next few days, Bronwyn and I run around adding her to my bank account and life insurance in case something happens to me and she needs to care for Dorian. She didn't see the point since our arrangement is temporary, and even I didn't understand my compulsion to do it. Yet, as I explained, it was a necessary step and something that won't change even when she divorces me. I'm that certain Bronwyn will always want to be in Dorian's life in some capacity. So we met with my lawyer and went about the process of registering our marriage and sorting out the necessary details to begin my court case. I've tried to make contact with Yvette for some time so she could at least speak with Dorian, but to no avail. Therefore, I wasn't surprised when my lawyer advised it could take some time to locate her to inform her of my suit and get her response. I'm anxious for it all to be over so we can all move on with our lives. But Bronwyn reminded me it's more important that we get it done right than quickly. Of course she's right. I'm just impatient to put that chapter of my life firmly behind me. As my girls sit on the sofa in the great room after breakfast, I look up for my second cup of coffee. While Bronwyn brushes out the golden waves created by the braid Dorian wore to bed, Dorian sits between her legs, bleeding. But give, Mama. Nina says all the girls are wearing things. Bronwyn looks at me as I eye her over the rim of my mug. I'm going to defer to her on this one, and as I smirk, she playfully narrows her eyes before returning her attention to Dorian's hair. Well, what kind of bangs are you talking about, Dory? This concept clearly has not occurred to our 5-year-old, because she sits up, whipping her head around to look at Bronwyn. There are different kinds? She exclaims, eyes wide with shock. Mm-hmm. So many. Which banks did you pick out? Dorian's gaze bounces from Bronwyn to me, and I shrug. Gift Mama knows more about hair than I do. But how do you know that, Papa? She sullenly asks. Isn't her hair beautiful? I ask, well raised. Dorian rolls her eyes. You always say that. I shrug at my dramatic voila. Because it's true. And since it's true, that means she's an expert on beautiful hair. Isn't that why you are consulting her? What is consulting? Dorian frowns. It means asking for an opinion. You're asking Gift Mama's opinion or what she thinks about you having bangs, so you're consulting with her. Oh, yes. Turning to Bronwyn, she says, I don't know what kind of bangs. Bronwyn shakes her head. Maybe before bed tonight, we can look at some pictures of different versions to see which ones you like. We can play with your hair after to see what looks good on you. What do you think? Dorian's little face clears as she smiles. Okay, that's a good idea. Oh, thank you. I've been known to have those sometimes. Bronwyn smiles as she sits Dorian down. But for today, do you want pigtails, a braid, or a headband? As they settled on a braid and a headband, I'd look out of the window at the sky. It's been clear a few days now, but it's supposed to snow tomorrow night. Today is a good day to go for a ride. Adrien is out for the day, but a quick message to Mama to find out if she and Papa will be home and willing to watch Dorian for a few hours, and I'm all set. Dorian, when Give Mama finishes your hair, please get dressed. You're going to spend the day with Gigi and Grandpapa, she exclaims. She promised to show me how to make the savoyardi for the cake. I chuckle, knowing she'll probably eat more of the cookies than will go into the dessert Mama uses them in. Okay, well, be quick. As she bounces off to her room, I cross over to sit beside Bronwyn as she gathers the comb and brush. Her curls are piled high on her head, and I'm tempted to pull one out to tease her. What's up? She asks as I rest my arm on the sofa behind her. How are you feeling, my dear? Eyeing me warily, she narrows her gaze. I'm fine. Do we need to go file something else? A grin slowly spreads across my face. No, it's finally time. We're still within our first 6 months, but I can't think of a better time than now. What are you talking about? She asks warily. I hold up a fist. Shifumi. I smile, referring to the rock, paper, scissors game. Her eyes wide, and I have to catch her wrist to keep her from scrambling away. Oh no, Michel. No! You promised you'd try something new every 6 months. Yes, but that was before. Yes, and my wife is not a woman who goes back on her word. She groans, rolling her head back to expose the long column of her throat. Oh, why did I do that? Fine, she exclaims, her head snapping up as she scowls at me. I'll just have to beat you. You're certainly welcome to try. I chuckle. Best out of three. No hesitating and real shapes, or you automatically lose the round. Bronwyn tosses the comb and brush aside as she shifts on the sofa to get on her knees. She frowns, her tongue darting out between her rosy lips in such concentration that I have to laugh. She wins the first round with scissors, but it's like watching the mousse flash across her forehead. She growls when I win the next round after I throw paper. And pushing the sleeves of her soft green sweater up to her elbows, she frowns harder as she concentrates on my hand. When I throw scissors, and she loses. She flings her body backwards in such defeat, I can't help laughing. It's not so bad, I chuckle, tickling her side. Stop! She giggles, pushing my hand away. I can't believe you won. It's rigged. So you think I'm cheating, Winnie? Are you calling me a cheater? I laugh as I continue tickling her. No, stop. It's not funny. She laughingly pouts, sitting up to grab my hands. What are we doing anyway? I shrug as I stand up. I'll tell you when I get back from dropping Dorothy at her grandparents. You should probably change into pants, I say, eyeing the pleated brown skirts she has on, and perhaps add another layer under your sweater. Fine, she grumbles as Dorian runs out all bundled up. I'm ready, Papa, she exclaims giddily. Unable to resist, I lean down to whisper in Bronwyn's ear. See, that's the proper response. Her mouth drops open as I chuckle, turn towards Dorian. Let's go, little koala, I say as she latches onto one of my legs. Carry me, Papa, she giggles. I turn towards Bronwyn, who's still staring at me, and I wink. What a marvelous idea, my darling. When I return from my parents' house, I remove the cover from my motor to make sure it has petrol. There's no telling without plan, but I'm surprised to see it still has a full tank. So, running into the basement, I search for the spare helmet I bought years ago, but which rarely saw use. After checking to make sure it's usable, I pause when I see a moto jacket peeking out of the box. Bronwyn is a lot shorter than Yvette, but with her curves, she'll likely fill out the jacket, even if we have to roll up the sleeves. I exit the basement as Bronwyn comes out of the kitchen in running tights and dirty. I think you need to change again. Her eyes drop to the moto jacket and helmet in my hand, and she swallows. Out. Uh, Michel? I know I said. I shake my head and point upstairs. You'll have to trust me, Winnie. She stares me down for several seconds before her shoulders slump. Fine, I'll be right back. A few minutes later, she steps into the kitchen wearing jeans with her hoodie thrown on top of her green sweater. A pair of black leather boots dangle from her hands as she slowly approaches me. I close the cupboard where I was contemplating what to pick up from the market for dinner. With a glance, I gesture to the moto jacket hanging on the bar stool near the kitchen island. If it doesn't fit, I'll let you use one of mine. Eyeing the jacket dubiously, she puts it on without a word. The sleeves overshoot her hands, and it's a snug fit, but I think it will work. I cross to her and zip her up. Can you breathe all right? I ask, dragging my eyes off her curves. It's a bit tight, she mutters, her dark eyes shooting darts at me. With a chuckle, I reach into the jacket and pull out her hood. And now? Better. She nods. I pick up her sleeve and begin cuffing the stiff fabric. I know you're worried, but I won't do anything you don't want me to do. We'll start off with going down the street and coming back. I'll let you know when we're turning. I'll ask before I speed up, and we can come back anytime you want. Well, okay, she sighs as I cuff the other sleeve. I was afraid you'd make me go all the way to town. I shake my head, looking at her intently. This isn't about losing a bet and forcing you to do something. Remember? It's about saying how you feel about something new. You'll try it, and if you hate it, you never have to do it again. But at least you'll know why you don't like motorcycles. I'll never force anything on you just for the sake of it. Okay, Dove? Her smile of relief unties a knot that had been forming in my stomach. And that's when I realize I'm nervous too. I want her to like it. Ready? Yes, Papa. She smirks. My stomach drops as my brows rise, making her laugh. You're right. That's weird. I heard it as it came out, and I wondered if it sounded as weird to hear it as it sounded coming out. Bronwyn, I smile. I know. I'm rambling. Before we step into the cold, I gather her hair in a low ponytail and quickly braid it while she sits on the bench in the vestibule. When I enter a balaclava to put on, she looks up at me in bewilderment. It's cold out, but this will help. When she rubs the material, I realize she's worried about her hair, so after running upstairs, I return with her satin scarf. Securing it under her braid, she then puts on the balaclava, and as we approach my bike, she shoves the helmet on, flipping the visor down like she's going to war. Chuckling, I help secure it under her chin, and after putting on my balaclava and helmet, I sit on the motor and check to make sure the comms work. Why is it so loud? She asks. Going into the app, I lower the volume. You want to be able to hear over the sound of the engine when we're riding. Is that okay? She gives me a thumbs up, and after she takes my extended hand, she perfectly follows my instructions to get on, as I teasingly ask if she's ridden a motor before. I chuckle when she asks if stationary bikes count, so I walk her through what to do when going through towns and when stopping. When I start the silver Yamaha, her arms fly around my waist so fast I have to laugh. Just remember, Bullet is your friend. Ready? Ready, Papa? She teases. Oh, what have I done? Pulling out of my paved driveway, I start off slow. We are just going up to that bridge and coming back, I say, taking off. Her arms tighten around me, but she leans with me around the curves, and when we reach the top of the hill, I ask how she's doing. I'm okay, she responds. You can go a little faster if you want. Okay, I smirk. Hold on. Giving Bullet more petrol, I come back to the house the long way around the hill. Bronwyn's giggling when I pull up in front of the house, which I consider a good sign. Can we go again? I'm feeling hopeful as warmth explodes through my chest. Do you want to go the same way, or should I make a longer loop? A longer loop, please. I grin as I take off once again. houses and fields flying by us. That's the school Atlan and I attended as children, I say, pointing towards the short concrete and wood building. Were you a good student? I shrug. I did all right. When we graduated, I went to university for my master's too, but I didn't pass the bar until after I left the GIGN. When we graduated? Who is we? Oh, Atlan and I graduated the same year. So you were in the same grade? I say, hating to bring it up. We were in the same year at school, yes. From the age of 13 to answer your next question. She scoffed. That was not my next question, smarty pants. I was going to ask if the GIGM was like SWAT. Something like that, I say, pointing to the stretch of water to the left of us. That's the river where I caught my first fish. You're changing the subject. She chuckles. Smiling, I nod. You will never let me get away with anything, will you? Depends. Is there something you want to get away with? Ha! Okay, to answer your question, the GIGN is similar to SWAT, but we have a military designation as well. She stiffens in the seat behind me. So you're a military man. Only in the sense that my unit worked both nationally and in some cases outside of the country. But as I said, I resigned to pursue law and went to work as a lawyer. Uh-huh. What was your job assignment? A little of everything. Some counterterrorism, sometimes security, but mostly hostage negotiation and recovery. She goes silent a moment. And what was your rank? I hesitate before answering. I resigned as a captain. She gasps as I turn back towards the house. Captain! Is that why the police referred to you as captain that day? The day of the shooting? I nod, coming to a stop at a crossroad before proceeding. I asked the dispatcher to give the code word to the uniforms outside of your office so that I would know it was safe to exit. She ummed before going quiet. Then, was it hard giving up police work? The question takes me by surprise, but I consider it carefully. I found my work exciting. There was always something interesting to do. Well, that's not always the case, being a lawyer. I would have preferred to do it a few more years, but I don't regret resigning. I joined the police at the age of 20 while finishing my degree, so I had nearly 10 years of service. In all of my years serving, I saw fallen officers widowing children only once, but it left a deep impression on me. I never wanted my children to grieve me early in life. So, when I found out Yvette was pregnant, I immediately made plans to change careers. Pulling to a stop in front of the house, I glanced over my shoulder. How are you doing? Ready to stop? A long pause follows. I want to tell you I love it and we should keep going, but my lips burst as a wave of disappointment crashes through me. I understand. It's not for everyone. I'll know, she interjects, her hand pressing against my chest. I was going to say I would tell you I love it, but I don't want it going to your head. My brow wrinkles. So you want to keep going? If you don't mind, it's so much fun. A silly grin spreads across my face. Then hold on, Mrs. Renard. Yes, Captain, she bells, her arms tightening around me, giving me pause. I clear my throat as I pull off again. I'm glad you like it, sweetheart. Now, hang on. We're going for a real ride. With that, I take off down the road, flying through the familiar valleys and hills with breathtaking views. When we stop at a rest area sometime later to use the toilet, I purchase 2 hot coffees from a vending machine. Finding a table in the sun, we sip the warm brew as we take in a mountain view. That is the spot. She groans over the hot coffee. I chuckle as I gaze out over the valley below. There hasn't been a repeat of last Sunday since she now reserves her groans for when she's at home. And while the rest stop is busy with travelers, no one is sitting in the sun with us. So, what excuse can I now use for the urge to kiss her? I take a large gulp of coffee, which is swiftly cooling in the mountain air. This view, she continues, this coffee, you, this is my favorite vacation of all time. My brows rise as I eye her over my can. I'm surprised to be included on a list that boasts the Alps and a can of coffee. Bronwyn chuckles. I think you'd fit perfectly on a lot of lists. Least likely to be a pet owner? Most likely to leave rolled up balls of socks laying around. Hey, I laugh. I always collect them. Eventually, she laughs, but after looking at me a moment, she turns back to face the view. There are other lists too. Best fathers, wonderful friends. Our eyes lock for a long moment before she smirks. Husbands who dare their wives to do things out of their comfort zone. I chuckle, looking away as I try to catch my breath. The name of the last list needs work, but thank you. I appreciate the nomination. She ums in response, and after finishing our coffee, we make our way back to the motel. Using my shoulder to steady herself, she climbs on, and after snuggling in behind me, she groans. This is nice. I can get used to this. Zut, I complain. Now you're not just groaning over food, but you're including experiences as well? Her chuckle gives me instant anxiety when I pull back onto the road. My dear boy, don't you know that like food, experiences and people are to be savored? Thank you so much for that mental picture, I mutter, to which she responds with airy laughter. Pff, this is going to be a long ride back.